So, you've spent hours, maybe even days, crafting the perfect article, right? The most insightful blog post you've ever written. But when you hit publish, it's just crickets. It feels completely invisible online. You know the content is good, so what's the deal? Well, there's a hidden factor at play here, a really delicate balance that could be the key to finally getting seen. Let's pull back the curtain on this thing called the keyword density dilemma.
Okay, it's a tough question, I know, but we have to ask it. Could the very words you're using to try and get found actually be holding you back? It's a common fear for literally anyone creating content, and honestly for good reason. Your own work might be working against you, and you might not even realize it. And that right there is the heart of the issue. This isn't about your talent or how great your ideas are. It's about how that content is structured for search engines. It's an optimization problem, plain and simple. And the good news is, it's one we can absolutely solve.
So, how do we solve it? Well, first, we've got to understand the two major traps that pretty much everyone falls into when they try to figure this puzzle out on their own. It really is a classic case of doing way too much or not nearly enough.
This is like the classic rock in a hard place situation. On one side, you've got keyword stuffing. You try way too hard, you repeat your keyword till it sounds totally unnatural, and boom, the search engines penalize you and your rankings just tank. But on the other side, you play it too safe, you barely use your keywords, and your under-optimized content just gets, well, ignored. You miss out on huge ranking opportunities. It really feels like you can't win.
So what do most people do? They try to count keywords by hand, right? But honestly, that approach is just a minefield. It's so tedious, you're bound to make mistakes that can get you penalized. It wastes hours of your time you could be using to create new stuff. And the results are so inconsistent, you're basically just guessing if your strategy is even working.
Okay, so that brings us to the real solution. This isn't about guessing, it's about being precise. It's all about mastering the keyword balancing act. And to do that, you have to understand one of the most fundamental concepts in all of SEO. And that being concept is something called keyword density. Now, put simply, it's just a percentage. If you have a 1,000-word article and your keyword shows up 10 times, your keyword density is 1%. That's it. It's a super straightforward metric that helps search engines figure out what your page is all about. So that leads to the million-dollar question, what's the right percentage? And here it is. This is the magic number. Most SEO experts agree that the sweet spot, the ideal range you're aiming for, is somewhere between 1 and 3%. This is enough to signal what you're about to search engines, but not so much that you start setting off spam alarms. This is the target. And believe me, there's a really good reason why that range matters so much. It's not just some vague guideline. Google literally has an internal metric, a keyword stuffing score. It makes that abstract idea of a penalty super real. You can actually be scored on how much you overdo it. The goal? Stay as close to 0 on that scale as you possibly can.
Okay, so knowing the target is great, but how in the world do you actually hit it without all that painful manual counting? Let's break down a much simpler and more effective way to do this.
Thankfully, modern tools make this whole thing incredibly simple. It really just boils down to 3 steps. Step 1, you just paste your text in, or maybe a URL to a web page. Step 2, the tool instantly scans everything and calculates the density for you, not just for one keyword, but for all of them. And then step 3, you get all this clear data you need to tweak your content and hit that perfect balance.
And we're not just talking about single keywords here. The analysis you get is way more powerful than that. It looks at 2-word phrases, 3-word phrases, even 4-word phrases. This gives you a complete, holistic picture of what your content is really about, and it helps you optimize for how people actually search these days. You know, this move towards using tools for analysis, it's more than just a convenience thing. It's a fundamental shift in strategy for content creators everywhere. It's about moving from hoping you're right to knowing you're right.
And we're not talking about some niche little strategy here. This is a huge community. We're talking over 50,000 creators who are already using this kind of data-driven approach to get their work seen. That's a massive number of people who've decided to stop guessing.
Honestly, this has become the new standard. The most successful marketers, the top bloggers, the best SEO professionals, they've all made the switch. They rely on analysis, not just a gut feeling, to make sure their content performs at its absolute peak. And just look at who's using this stuff. It's not just one group of people. You've got content writers trying to make sure their articles hit the mark, SEO pros doing deep competitive research, entire marketing teams, e-commerce stores optimizing every last product description, and yeah, even students making sure their papers are properly focused. The applications are just incredibly broad.
So, let's bring it all back. What does this actually mean for you? Well, it means it's time to take the locks off your content and finally let it reach the audience it was made for.
At the end of the day, this entire thing is about making one single, powerful shift. It's about moving away from the stress and the inconsistent results of guesswork and stepping into the confidence and clarity that comes from making precise, data-driven decisions.
All right, so let's boil this all down to the key takeaways. By understanding and actively managing your keyword density, you can avoid those really damaging Google penalties, you'll save yourself a ton of time and effort, and maybe most importantly, you'll finally unlock the full ranking potential of the amazing content you're already creating.
And that really leaves us with just one final question for you to think about. When you look at how you create and optimize your content right now, which side do you fall on? Is your strategy really built on hard data, or are you still relying on guesswork?